23rd, 2023. We're here to conduct a budget hearing for the engineer's office. Just a little brief history with the engineers. They have various funds. Most of them are outside the general fund, but tax map is within the general fund. Then he has an auto license and gas tax fund, municipal street improvement fund. GIS is under Commissioner Gills, additional motor vehicle tax, the Vrooman Road Bridge, and then the other additional motor vehicle tax. In 2019, the board approved a motor vehicle license increase of $5, and we worked with Mr. Gills and the prior board to basically address a lot of the road projects that he could not afford without the $5 additional. And we try to condense them into as many as possible, and now he's been paying that off approximately $1 million plus interest on a yearly basis with that. And basically with this, we agreed to budget hearings back in 2009 when it was when the board approved a $5 additional tax. And then I'll turn it over to Mr. Gills if he has any questions, any concerns about the budgets. They sent over, there was one line item that we had to change in tax map general fund. Everything else remains the same. A person changed coverage, so we had to address that. And then Ms. Giblock sent me an updated GIS budget, which I have reflected in that. Outside funds, as long as it's within the revised code, we let the elected officials or the department running that make the necessary changes that they so wish to. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Gills and see if he has any questions, concerns, anything concerning any of his budgets.
Not really any main concerns. We are looking maybe at an adjustment of that $1 million payment next year. This year, as you
let's talk about our engineer's office. You heard me at our last couple of discussions talking about increased revenues associated with investment dollars. Those were unbudgeted dollars. Our county engineer has been talking about several issues of great concern. One of the big ones that's near and dear to those of us on the east side are roads and bridges that are closed. And there are other areas that are in imminent points of imminent failure. Engineer Gills, I believe the desire was to have you discuss this, so the floor and the microphone is yours, and we'll come back to the soil and water discussion.
I'm not used to being here. I'm used to being over there. First of all, I thank you for entertaining my request. This is the first time in over 22 years that I've come and before the commissioners and asked for money. And the reason I am here today asking for money is because of what one would call basically over the last 2.5 years a perfect storm. We have several roads closed. Well, we have 2 roads closed now. One could be an additional one that could be closed at any time. We've had 2 major wall failures on Madison Avenue, which is a very substantial retaining wall. They were very expensive. The first project failure that was part of the road resurfacing project did receive some federal funds, but not enough. The failure at the beginning of the construction added to the cost. It increased the cost of that particular project by $500,000. That was not covered by anything other than our office. Presently, the Madison Avenue retaining wall had a second failure, and we had to do that on an emergency because it was pretty bad, and we did it on time material. The wall is now finished. It is unpaid for. The total cost was $1.3 million. We have paid $500 to date. We owe $800,000. Ford Road is closed. It needs a complete replacement. It is a major slide and it's a mess. We are going through the process of design and moving forward, but the biggest problem is money. It's a $2.5 million project at this particular time. Payne Road retaining wall and culvert is also closed. It is a serious emergency. It has been closed for a while, and that particular project is a $200,000 project. Williams Road, in order to solve that slope failure, it is a local emergency and could be closed at any time, is another $870,000. We also have a St. Clair Bridge deck repair that has been bad for about 5 years. It keeps getting large holes in it. We keep patching it, and they don't last very long. They fall through. It needs a complete deck replacement. We have hired an engineer to do the design. That's $1.1 million. It needs to be done immediately. And there are several other projects. In that light, has everybody got a copy of my list of projects? Jason? Okay. All right. So, and there's the other projects on there, some bridges and things that are coming, we already have match money for, or not match money, we have federal funds for, but no match money. So, all in all, let me explain to you exactly how my budget operates. My budget operates presently on about $1 million a year for capital improvements. That capital improvements are basically anything that is not fundable by the federal government and match money for the federal government. In the past year and a half, due to increase in costs, that has been reduced by almost a third. From 125 to probably right now a little less than that particular million. Excuse me. That covers my normal everyday year-to-year projects that I normally do. Some years I'm able to do a little more, some years a little bit less, basically, depending on the particular year. But to add to the problem, we have a Blair Road retaining wall that is also failing. It has not failed yet. It is pending failure, and will have to be addressed probably in the next 24 months. That particular project is a $2.4 million project. As you can see from the list in front of you, there is a lot of work to do and no money. All of these projects are over and above the $1 million I spend a year. Madison Avenue needs to be paid for. Ford Road, Payne Road needs to be built. Williams needs to be built, and these need to be built now. The two roads that are closed have been closed over a year. It creates serious problems for the residents and for the safety forces in answering calls. I do not have the money for these projects. We have looked under every rock. I've applied for federal funds. One of the problems with Payne Road and Ford Road and Williams Road is they are not on the federal system. If they're not on the federal system, federal funds aren't available. CEO funds are not available. NOACA funds are not available. The best thing we can do is go to Public Works. We have applied for Public Works for the Ford Road project. At this particular time, they don't have any money for emergency. We do have Public Works emergency money on Calla Road that covers about $400,000. So from that standpoint, we've looked under every rock. We have asked the state legislature to give us money. They originally thought we might come up with $2 million for us. However, that's been shot down. The House has indicated that they do not fund these kind of projects. So they will not go along with our $2 million. So we are left with a large hole. The only way that hole can be filled is with money. And I'm sorry to say that, and I'm sorry to be here to ask you for it, but I have absolutely no choice. I'll take questions.
Well, you've heard me talk about life safety issues. I'm going to be blunt. When you have roads and bridges that are closed, that's a problem. We've got Blair Road. I think that's the detour route, and that's only one lane, or, no, I'm sorry, yeah, Blair Road, one lane?
Yeah, well, no, Blair Road is open.
Williams is the one.
Williams Road is down to one lane. But the problem with Blair Road, if we have to close that, the only way you can get into Leroy Township is through Vrooman Road, in and out of it. So, coming north and south from north.
Madison Fire, Madison Township Police, they're actually also going through Geauga County, through Thompson to get to places in Madison.
Well, it makes a very difficult situation for everybody. The other side of the whole thing is, like I said, while we're looking for funding, we have generated enough funding to get the professional services going, because these two particular roads projects are over water, which means we have to deal with the core, which is a slow process. So we've got all that started. We are moving forward. We will soon be ready to go forward on the construction of these projects, with the exception of the money that is necessary.
And right now you are showing a shortfall of $16,900,000.
Well, that's the overall shortfall. The immediate shortfall is probably about nine. I have $9,632,000.
Actually, it's $9,632,300. Don't short yourself that $300.
Oh,
Not
sorry.
that I'm keeping math on
No,
this,
oh, okay.
but our work does get checked. But those are what we're going to call the Category 2 on your list. That would be Madison Avenue retaining wall, of which is $800,000 outstanding. Ford Road bridge replacement, $2,500,000. Payne Road retaining wall and culvert, $2 million. And I believe Blair Road.
Williams Road is the next one at 870.
Sure, I'm just walking down your list. That's how I got to 9
okay.
million, which tells me that I may not be taking the order you want, but our numbers seem to be agreeing.
Yay.
Just getting it out there, brother. I think it's a reasonable ask. I think the fact that we have been blessed with good investments, and again, these are unbudgeted dollars. I think that's an opportunity to put unbudgeted dollars towards an immediate safety issue. So I think you made a strong case, but gentlemen, it takes two of us.
Anyone who asks me for $10 million gets a hell no. Not just a no, a hell no. We have not finished our budget. We have not yet addressed the needs of all the departments, and we have not yet costed out the jail project. When all that is done, and I want to do that with all due speed, and we're going to be voting on our budget this Thursday, we will see what monies are left. But you're talking about a projected surplus in interest income without considering the added cost of bonds. If there are any emergency projects in the engineer's office, I recommend that we work with the budget director and bond counsel. But if there's not an emergency, then we need to go through the full budget process. We need to know how much money we have. Spending money we don't even have is not something I'm comfortable with. It's very easy to say, this is important, let's spend 10 million here, let's spend 10 million there, but then we're in a crisis. Then we really do have to lay people off and make severe budget cuts if it turned out that you overestimated revenue in one line or another. We live and die by sales tax, which can change on a day-to-day basis. Property tax tends to be more stable, but even that's based on collections. And even interest income relies on whether or not the bonds ultimately pay. You're talking about projections from the Treasurer's office, not money in the bank today. And so I respect the absolute importance of roads and bridges, but it doesn't matter who walks into this office and says, before you even run the numbers and see how much money you have, I need $10 million now. The answer is hell no.